Diggersby gonna fire off the Scorching Sand. Switch advantage has been lost, and Beedrill will be aligned against Typhlosion. We send it out, get the energy lead, bait back out Typhlosion. Beedrill gonna fire off the X-Scissor. The opponent still with that shield to hide behind. Gonna be investing here. Beedrill gonna be able to survive the Incinerate. Reach the next X-Scissor. Beedrill is a Typhlosion counter confirmed. You heard it here first. Back out comes Dusclops. Beedrill running out of HP, commits to the drill run and gets there, and Beedrill sweeps the back line. GG's, and thanks for playing. Ask yourself, are you not entertained? Show me another bug and poison type that's going to knock out Typhlosion and Dusclops. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are showcasing my absolute favourite Pokemon to use in the Great League. I've been using Shadow Beedrill all the way since Season 10. In that season, everyone doubted it, and I was able to pilot this Pokemon to Legend rank. Since then, we've pretty much used it every season, and we've always found play, because this Pokemon is an absolute monster. For those of you OGs, you'll remember a time where X-Scissor only cost 35 energy. Even on Poison Jab back then, you took just 10 turns to them X-Scissors, meaning it could just outpace so many things. Unfortunately, around Season 14 or 15, X-Scissor got reworked. Yes, it does more damage, but unfortunately costs more energy. That was quite detrimental to Beedrill's pacing, meaning its cheapest charge move come after 6 Poison Jabs or 12 turns. Since then, I'll be honest, I've had to try incredibly hard to make this Pokemon work. However, don't worry, Season 23 gave us an update that I, for one, am super hyped about. Beedrill getting access to Poison Sting. It now paces quicker than it ever has before. 5-4 to the X-Scissors and straight 5s to the Drill Run, which is frankly absurd. The thing I like about Beedrill is it's able to hit back against some of its hardest counters. I'm talking about stuff like Bastiodon, stuff like Carbink, or even fire types like Typhlosion or Skeledirge respectively. Now with straight 10 turns that Drill Run, if you can manage your energy well, you are in for a good time. You can tell by the length of the video that this is somewhat of a longer upload, and that is intentional. By the time I figured this team out, I was pulling off some absolutely crazy dubs with the team. However, so many people always say content creators only show their wins. I'm not here to massage my own ego. As much as I like to chat shit and have a lot of fun, this is a learning experience as well. So I'm going to keep the early battles in where I didn't play optimally, and I'll talk through what I did wrong and how you should have played the matchup. With all that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, we're off to a good start. Well, matchup-wise we are, but Pokemon-wise, not so much. Like an absolute potato. I've bought the wrong Beedrill. I've got multiple Beedrill built with all different movesets. This one was one I used in Battle Frontier. After this battle, we will, of course, revert back to the correct one, running X-Scissor. Right off the bat, what you will notice, when the opponent say switched into Gligar, I banked a boatload of energy, ensuring I've got not only an X-Scissor, or Aerial Ace in this battle, and a Drill Run banked. And that is because Beedrill has a very high attack stat, ranging between 127 to 129 in the Great League. That means you're able to win CMP, even against Pokemon that got quite high attacks that you see quite commonly. I'm talking about stuff like Feraligatr, the Denny which you saw in the lead position, and even Pokemon like Dragonair. In this battle, I was happy to soft lose the mid-game matchup. I send out Sableye, looking to get an energy lead. The opponent not wanting to concede a farm down, I send out Jellicent, and this game is already signed, sealed, and delivered. One Shadow Claw and the foul play. Down goes Jellicent. If I see the Denny's typing come out, which I do, we're going to give him the wham, bam, combo play, fire off that Drill Run, that we've got banked, and we're going to be off to a very quick 1-0 start. GG's. Of course, for the next battle, we are running the correct Beedrill with X-Scissor, but we are off to a tricky matchup. Holy crap, Greninja has the ability to beat all 3 of my Pokemon. I'm feeling brave. I look to call the bait, and it is all going wrong. I get Hydro Cannon to the face. We're going to undertap this X-Scissor as that Water Shrieking will be knocking me out. We're able to obtain ourselves an early shield advantage. I'm going to send in the big fat bunny. I instantly know, so this one's definitely the bait, right? Come on. Uh-oh. That's not a bait either. Diggersby undeterred withstands the damage, one quick attack and the Scorching Sands. And it looks like Sableye is going to be tasked with doing the heavy lifting. We pivot into Sableye and out comes Kanto Marowak. It's an ongoing joke that I like to save shields for next season, but now would be a good time to start investing at least one. We shield at the Bone Club and out comes the Dene. No point in baiting. I'm going to full send the Gleam, guarantee the damage or that final Protect Shield. The Gleam lands, rocking the Dene into the red health range. And this is going to be a situation where the Parabolic Charge is actually going to favour me more than my opponent. They're only reaching one move, and this just feeds Sableye yet more energy because they've buffed up their defence. Back out comes Marowak. We're going to fire off one Shadow Claw and the foul play, which strips the final Protect Shield here. I'm going to intentionally throw at suboptimal timing. I survived that Mud Slap. The opponent will be looking to farm down. Gleam puts him in a range, but one quick attack is going to knock him out, and we somehow escape with a dub. Oof, that was dicey. Heading into the next battle. We found ourselves another problem. The barrel did get nerfed because rollout now does less damage, but I think this meta is actually going to be kind of good because there's a lot of bugs running around. I can't really say switch into Sableye or Diggersby as neither have a particularly good matchup. We're going to shield the Surf, one Poison Sting and the X-Scissor. I'm hoping after this we can Sting down. Unfortunately we cannot. I am going to soak on Diggersby. While Surf does hit for super effective, Diggersby is objectively bulkier than Sableye. It still actually does around the same amount of damage. Diggersby gets that quick attack farm down. The opponent sends out Dusclops, and we are in a lot of trouble already. Diggersby going to make the best of a bad situation, firing off the Scorching Sands, fishing for the attack drop, which we're unable to get. I'm really hoping this Ice Punch knocks me out, which it doesn't. We don't reach the Fire Punch, and the opponent gets yet more energy together. We've been shoutcasting a lot of Poltergeist propaganda. I'm already down one Protect Shield. Does the opponent have Poltergeist? Yes, they do. Get my own Sableye off the screen. Out comes Talonflame. I got absolutely clapped, but fair play to that opponent. We love the big booms. Heading into the next battle. You see, the battle of buff poison types. This is a matchup that Beedrill very much fancies. The opponent doesn't commit to the outrage. And onto the backward tail, not all that threatening. The opponent pivots out into Samurott. I'm more than happy to stay in here. As I said in the intro, I'm used to CMP time people and denying energy. I look to go for that play. And I'm like, what the heck? Beedrill loses CMP. I looked this up on PV Poke. Samurott's actually got a base attack of 129. So the more you know, so don't play CMP against this Pokemon. It's got an even higher attack stat than I do. I fully undercharged to make amends for my mistake, leaving with residual energy good to go. Out comes Scissor. We force in the drill run. The opponent looks to call the bait. Near get one shot. We snipe with Sableye. The opponent doesn't want the work, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we are running it back. Of course, I do need to be mindful. The opponent might look to catch a drill run, as this is quite a bad matchup for them. The Aqua Tail not too threatening, whereas the drill run almost knocks them out. The opponent goes for that catch. If they caught a drill run and jump off, that would have been a very nice play. It would have been triple resisted, but I see it coming in. Fire off the X's. I'm going to rebank some energy and catch the Aerial Ace onto the big fat bunny. I see a lot of people ask, are you counting? So there's two ways to count. You can, of course, count the Fairy Winds, and every time they throw, that's 1, 2, 3, etc. However, the correct way to count is you count energy. So every Fairy Wind's 9 energy. And if I'd have been doing that here, I would have known that they would reach the Aerial Ace after 3 and not 4. So being lazy, I end up playing as a CMP tie. We do not win. However, we do survive, and we are going to reach double Fire Punch. The opponent's kind of in a tough position. The first one lands. Unfortunately, not enough to get the job done. But if the opponent wants switch advantage, they are going to be forced to shield. Down goes Jumpluff. Back out comes Dragalge. I'm going to fire off one Poison Sting and then trap the opponent to CMP. Drill Run will be removing them from the field of play or force a Protect Shield. Out comes Cradilly, and Beedrill is going to be popping off in this end game. The acids are resisted as poison does resist itself. We fire off the first X-Scissor, able to reach the second. The opponent lightly double shield here. I send out Sableye and I anticipate the opponent conceding the match. Ghost does resist poison. I can survive any one move and the acids are resisted. We tank the Rock Tomb. The opponent continues to stay in. I guess their win con is hoping to have a heart attack. Despite me drinking far too much coffee and a lot of Red Bull on night shift, I am still alive and well. We shield up the next one, farm up 2 double foul play. 1 won't be lethal, double debuff, but the second will certainly get the job done. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Beedrill into Stunfisk. Not a great matchup in even energy. However, what I'm going to do is, as always, I bank some energy and then send out Sableye. As I said in the last battle, I kind of switch out into whichever Pokemon has a worse matchup against the lead to try and align my hard counter later on. It looks like the opponent more than content to stay in. This Mud Bomb won't quite be lethal, however if I tank it we will get Thunder Shock farm down. I'm going to farm up, throw the Dazzling Gleam on CMP. As I am now in Mud Bomb range, I may as well maximise my damage as I'm only reaching one further move. We force our shield back, and that's like best case scenario. I could send out Diggersby, but I don't want to reveal my third yet. Instead, I'm going to send out Beedrill. Once again, farm up, throw the Drill Run on CMP. Drill Run from this range will be lethal, and now we've got residual energy good to go for whatever should come out. My switch time is also back up, so potentially I can catch out of this matchup should I need to. The opponent sends out Shelgon. Now that is a spicy pick. I fire off the X-Scissor. I recognise at this stage I'm only reaching one move. Drill Run does ever so slightly more, so I'm going to throw the Drill Run. Drill Run rocks the opponent low. Quick switch into Diggersby. Diggersby can tank any one move. I anticipate this being like a Dragon Pulse. Right on cue, there is the Dragon Pulse. Diggersby able to quick attack farm down, and out comes the Brick Wall. The opponent thought the Drill Run would have been double super effective. They didn't want to send it out. Well, unfortunately for you, trainer, we've also got the Scorching Sands, which very much has the same consequence. Diggersby reaches the next Scorching Sands, get that stupid brick wall off my screen, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Fortress in the lead position. When I was discussing Beedrill, members of my Discord, people were like, Fortress is going to be a problem for it. And I strongly disagree, because Beedrill, being a sub-poison type, firstly resists the bug bites, and secondly has a heavy pacing advantage. Is 17 to the first Rock Tomb. So there, through 8 Poison Stings and my Drill Run, obtaining that shield advantage, then I was able to catch the Rock Tomb onto the big fat bunny. The opponent counter swaps in Blastoise. However, this isn't a bad spot for the bunny. Their rollouts are resisted, whereas my quick attacks hit for neutral. If it wasn't debuff, we can actually knock out Blastoise with 2 Shadow Scorching Sands, one of the big perks running the Shadow over the regular. You can see the opponent here is going to have a near impossible task of trying to farm me down, so they're going to be forced to dump their energy. The big fat bunny has done its job. I'm going to elect to let it go down. I've got a shield advantage. I send out Sableye. I've now got an energy lead on both Pokemon. We're in a great position. Out comes the Dene. We're just going to full send the Gleam. I'm always shielding this move. I've got 2, and I intend to use them in this battle. I think the opponent has to let this go, and if they let it go, we just sting down and sweep with Beedrill. If they shield, we switch into Beedrill, and Beedrill sweeps regardless. Beedrill fires off the Drill Run. The opponent has buffed up their defense, but no defense buff is ever saving that Wish Pikachu. Back out comes Fortress. The opponent recognises the game's over, and they concede the match. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we are running it back with another Fortress in the lead position. So I'm going to do exactly what I did last time. 8 Poison Stings, which is 16 turns, 1 Bug Bite before they reach the Rock Tomb. However, that looked like CMP. I'm thinking, did I miscount? I'm confident in my counting. I don't see any lag, and it's a Sand Tomb, which is super annoying for me. I'm going to stay in, firing off a Drill Run. Really wanting to get myself some kind of advantage here in the opening matchup. Drill Run goes unshielded. Out comes the Dene, and like an absolute potato, I actually thought I wouldn't reach the Drill Run when I'm on straight 5. The opponent then called that X-Scissor like a mad lad. Jamie, what are you doing? I'll be honest, I actually thought I wouldn't reach any moves. I just panicked through the X-Scissor. Of course, I was just going to let Beedrill go down and align myself correctly with Diggersby into that mouse, as it is such a commanding matchup. The opponent sends out Dragalge. I try and catch an Aquatail unsuccessfully, but my rank 1 Sableye easily survives an outrage. We force ourselves a shield advantage, and Diggersby, with a shield advantage, is just going to be unbeatable. The opponent has literally no fast move pressure into me whatsoever. Would it even be an upload on my channel without me making a complete potato play? I'll be honest, when I threw the X's, I was actually laughing, thinking, Jamie, you are so washed up. The opponent sends out the mouse. They're greeted with the Scorching Sands, and that is the final nail in this opponent's coffin. Heading into the next battle, we see Typhlosion in the lead position. Awful for Beedrill. However, always throw you 1 Poison Sting. You've always got to try and use these Pokemon to navigate some energy wherever possible. I can survive a Thunder Punch. However, I am going to invest in protection and try and force the opponent out, as if I tank that, the opponent Incinerate farms me down, and we're just like on the defense here. Out comes Marowak, able to force our shield back, and hopefully land this foul play. If this foul play goes unshielded, I'm just going to quick attack farm down with Diggersby, and I'm not actually in the worst position. Unfortunately for me though, switch advantage has been lost, which means Beedrill is going to be aligned against Typhlosion at some point in the battle. Marowak going to fire off Bone Club after Bone Club. We're going to tank all the damage, of course, always saving a shield for the mighty B, as Beedrill fancies itself as a Typhlosion counter. Out comes Dusclops. Dusclops going to be greeted with the Scorching Sands. Beedrill is going to be aligned against Typhlosion, so we need to get an energy lead. Beedrill hits the field of play, baiting back out Typhlosion, 2 Poison Stings and the X-Scissor. X-Scissor forces the opponent. Final Protect Shield. The opponent unable to Incinerate farm me down. We reach this next X-Scissor 1 turn before the Incinerate registers. Down goes Typhlosion. Back out comes Dusclops. Beedrill commits to the Drill Run and is rewarded. Beedrill sweeps not only a Typhlosion but a Dusclops as well. GG's and thanks for playing. And that is why I love Shadow Beedrill. What an absolute monster. Heading into the next battle, we see the battle of Poison Sting users. Beedrill is going to pace at the same speed to the potential Crunch. The opponent take the initiative, bait him with the Aquatail, recognising that Shadow and Shadow Crunch, a Crunch comes very close to knocking out. I'm going to throw the X-Scissor. X-Scissor forced the Protect Shield, and we're able to reach the Drill Run, winning CMP. If the opponent 2-shield here, I'm just going to take my shield advantage. Beedrill once again putting in work, getting the opponent very quickly all shields down. Crunch isn't lethal, but the next Poison Sting does knock me out. I'm of course going to send out Diggersby. Diggersby can tank 2 Aquatails from full health. Even the Shadow, it does do a lot, but 2 are survivable. The opponent makes a very nice play, trying to catch the Scorching Sands onto their balloon. Their catch attempt unsuccessful. I bank my energy and send out Sableye. The opponent goes straight for the Icy Wind, which I think is a huge mistake. This just allows me to heavily overfarm, fire off the foul play, even at -1. Shadow Sableye will be popping this balloon. Down goes Drifblim. Out comes Glaring Weeding. If the opponent fully farmed me down, we're in trouble. The opponent actually throw, which is best case scenario. I could have threw the foul play instantly, but the ideal scenario would be the opponent does get scared and dump energy. Then make a catch, and this catch certainly isn't what they want to do. Aqua Tail will do objectively more than a brutal swing. Whilst catch is always very satisfying and looks cool, I think that catch has definitely cost the opponent the dub, as their win con now is them calling a bait. Because I don't need to bait, we force in the Scorching Sands, the opponent tank it through the Protect Shield, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Talonflame in the lead position. Much like the Typhlosion matchup, we throw the one Poison Sting and transfer the Incinerate onto Sableye. Sableye throws the foul play, obtaining myself an early shield advantage. I'm just going to let Sableye go down and then run with Diggersby. They're on Flame Charge as well, which certainly isn't great. A lot of people ask the difference between Shadow Diggersby and the regular. I think this matchup is a great selling point for the Shadow version of Diggersby. The quick attacks are really chunked through Talonflame. Opponent doesn't farm to the Brave Bird, so I'm more than willing to tank that move. Although these Incinerates are really starting to chunk, we fire off the Scorching Sands, which lands, rocking them into the red health range. The opponent then pivots into Drapion, and we send out Beedrill with that shield advantage. Beedrill going to respect a potential crunch, and once again I get Aqua Tail baited. Come on guys, I've got a family. As the opponent only has one shield, we force in the drill run, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent clearly lose track of how quickly Beedrill's generating energy. We reach the drill run, down goes Drapion, and just like that, we're back in the game. If Talonflame returns, it's going to get Sting farmed down. The opponent reveals their fur, which happens to be Dragalge. I go for the catch. They go for the catch. Oh, baby. Beedrill smelling blood in the water. Beedrill going to Sting farm down Talonflame. The opponent has no shield, and you better believe Drill Run going to rock the opponent insanely low. Drill Run almost picks up the one-hit KO. The opponent only reaching one move. My lose con is getting hit with the outrage to the face. The opponent full send it. Beedrill shields it up. Sting farms down, and despite leading into Talonflame, I am able to emerge victorious. Heading into the next battle, another Drapion in the lead position. This opponent looks to catch out. I try my luck also catching out. Our catch attempt unsuccessful. Their catch attempt unsuccessful as well, but Beedrill has like about 80 or 90 energy, a lot, almost at double charge moves. I enter the mirror. We don't get debuff. We fire off the Scorching Sands, and we're able to land the debuff. That means even though the opponent's got a huge energy lead, we are in the driver's seat in this mid-game matchup. The opponent fire off their Scorching Sand, which is an easy tank at -1. I waste no time, ensuring this Scorching Sands lands on its intended target, which it does. The opponent then pivots back out into Drapion. They overfarm, fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail will be moving me from the field of play. Beedrill re-enters the arena, waste no time, looks for the kill shot. Drill Run! Ooh, go shielded. With a huge energy lead, this is just not a matchup Drapion is ever flipping. They can potentially stall out the timer and catch out. We farm up once again, playing 2 CMP. Is the opponent going to go all in on Drapion? Yes, they are. I'm going to shield this up, and I need to be mindful of the opponent looking to catch out. So I'm looking top right. I see Jellicent's type in, enter the arena. We send out Sableye. The opponent has to settle for a Surf. If they commit to the Shadow Ball, we knock them out. But regardless of what they do, careful energy management on Beedrill is going to enable me to emerge victorious. 4 Shadow Claws and the foul play. Foul play, have no doubt, removes the Jellyfish from the field of play. Back out comes Fickersby. Fickersby greeted with the foul play. We've got a draw on banked on our B as well. And this game is signed, sealed and delivered. Back out comes Drapion. The opponent recognises the game's over and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see Talonflame in the lead position. Of course, this is probably the worst matchup you can see. Whilst Beedrill can hit other fire types for super effective, fire flyers like Charizard and Talonflame still single resist that ground type damage. The opponent counter switches in Fortress into Sableye. You can see here the bug bite damage is disgusting. I'm getting absolutely torn apart. I don't think there's any point in shielding that, as this matchup isn't a matchup we can ever flip. It just gets worse and worse over time, as the opponent's always going to debuff me. I send out Beedrill, overfarm, fire off the Drill Run. When Talonflame returns again, 1 Poison Sting and a transfer of the Incinerate onto the Big Fat Bunny. Things aren't looking great. Of course, we're going to call this isn't a Brave Bird. It's just a fly, that's step 1. 2 quick attacks and the Scorching Sands. Potentially, we can put them in a range where we can eventually Poison Sting farm them down. Looking at Talonflame's health, that definitely isn't a range where Beedrill can handle it. I think here I should just 2 on Fire Punch, because Fire Punch would probably be lethal. I full send the Scorching Sands, which does force a shield. The opponent then sends out Marowak, and unfortunately this one just isn't looking great. I haven't had the correct alignment anywhere in this battle. We fire off the X-Scissor. X-Scissor goes unshielded. I've got a shield. I'm thinking, do I have a Wink on? Probably not. We're going to try and play it out. The opponent farms the Rock Slide, which means we're going to throw 3, try and trap the opponent into CMP. The opponent tank the X-Scissor, send back out Talonflame. That's kind of risky, to be honest. They almost got Stung Farm down, but the opponent played it well. We get 1 HP boomed with the Brave Bird. You can't win them all. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see a scuffed matchup. The fast move pressure is with Beedrill, but charge move pressure very much with the opponent. So they throw this Aerial Ace instantly. Trainers are kind of creatures of habit, so I anticipate the opponent spamming that next Aerial Ace as soon as they get it as well. My X-Scissor would hit for neutral, but I think the energy might be better used somewhere else down the line, so I bank all the energy and catch on the big fat bunny. My opponent rebanks an Aerial Ace and try their luck catching a Fire Punch onto Lapras. I hold my energy, fire off the Scorching Sands, and we're able to get the attack drop. That means that one Sparkle Aria won't be lethal, and potentially we can force a shield here in the mid-game matchup. The opponent does actually survive this Scorching Sands, but I'm hoping the opponent doesn't know that, and do invest to protect shield. The opponent holds strong, stone cold no shield, and they're able to sideway farm down. Much like in previous battles, I've already got a bucket of energy banked on Beedrill, so I send out Sableye for 2 reasons. Firstly, to get an energy lead, and secondly, because it's bulkier than Beedrill. Out comes Feraligatr. We're going to be able to outpace to the foul play, and this way you're going to see why banking energy on Beedrill comes in clutch. We combo into Beedrill. You can see that isn't a CMP tie, so I can actually throw both these X's. The opponent can catch if they want. I simply do not care. The first X's are forced to protect shield. The second X's are on the CMP tie. Rocks Gator deep into the red. And at this point, we're going to trust in Sableye closing the show. In that situation, Drill Run, of course, would have done slightly more, but it's too risky to throw in case the opponent make a devastating catch. Back out comes Jumpluff. We shield up the Aerial Ace, able to outpace to the foul play. Is this foul play range? Foul play removes Jumpluff from the field of play. We're able to Shadow Claw farm down Gator and take that game. How I've missed you, Beedrill. Heading into the next battle. Well, that's a yikes lead if I ever did see one. Despite it being a bad lead, we don't need to pivot out instantly, of course. We're going to bank some energy before entering the mirror. Well, this doesn't look great. The opponent has another great answer for our bunny, and they've actually banked like 100 energy on Diggersby as well. Things are not looking great. At least on paper, they're not looking great. To be honest, this is what I love about Beedrill. How many times in this video to thus point have you seen things not look great and we've been able to emerge victorious? We fire off the Scorching Sands, and here I'm going to throw the Fire Punch for 2 reasons. Firstly, the opponent might shield. Secondly, if they don't shield, we can just Sting Farm down, getting yet more energy together before the opponent get any damage off whatsoever. Surf removes me from the field of play. We get yet more energy on Beedrill. I am spamming the switch, hoping to catch a Fire Punch. Did the opponent see me coming in, or did we make the catch? That is a huge catch. The opponent continued to stay, and this could be a Scorching Sands, which I will be respecting. That's a big shield on my part. My Shadow Claws are double resisted. However, Diggersby nowadays all run quick attacks. We're actually double resisting their quick move as well. We land the foul play. We're able to reach the next foul play on the CMP tie. And at this point, all the energy on Beedrill, in Beedrill, I believe. This isn't Scorching Sun's range, and I need to get out. Firstly, to get more energy on Beedrill, and secondly, to save Sableye as a sacrificial swap. We pivot into Beedrill, and out comes Clodsire. On paper, not a great matchup, especially down a Protect Shield, but you can see Drill Run very easily 2 shots. I think you should always go straight Drill Run here. You can X-Scissor bait, which does save you 5 energy, but the opponent essentially is always shielding that. We do throw the X-Scissor here, which I think is kind of pointless. You may as well just go straight Drill Run. We're able to strip the opponent very quickly, all shields down, and this is a very safe shield. Even if the opponent bait, which they do, I know they're going to be 2 off the next move. We're able to sack Sableye, catching the Earthquake, and Beedrill is going to close the show. Beedrill re-enters the arena. I'm going to farm up 2 double Drill Run. The opponent might think they made a catch in return, but all you've caught is that work. Drill Run removes the bunny from the field of play. We're doubled up, and Beedrill is going to close the show in absolutely epic fashion. GG's, and thanks for playing. Beedrill is a Clodsire counter confirmed. You heard it here first. In the next battle, we see Jumpluff in the lead position. This opponent throws instantly, so I'm always going to shield this move. 1 Aerial Ace would be survivable. As they threw the first move instantaneously, we're going to say the opponent's going to do exactly the same again. Like the previous matchup, I think the energy is going to be more universally useful somewhere down the line. The opponent continued to stay in. Much like the last battle, I am worried the opponent's going to try and catch a Fire Punch. So we're going to pause a turn this time for him before they reach an aerial ace. Fire Punch lands on its intended target. Able to force a final Protect Shield. We spam this move instantly. Even if they catch, I think it's always worth getting this move up. Down goes Jumpluff and out comes Shadow Matang. I love this Pokemon. We used it yesterday and it is actually legit. I send out Beedrill. We're able to catch the Psy Shock back onto Sableye like an absolute savage. That is double resisted. The opponent continued to stay in. What's in the back trader that you're staying in this matchup? We throw the Foul Play. Foul Play goes unshielded. Out comes Skeletor. A win come from here. Really simple. Shadow Claw them into a range where a Drill Run knocks out 7 Shadow Claws and the Foul Play. The opponent recognise they simply cannot win the match and we take that game. Oh, hello Azumarill. Finally Beedrill catches a Fairy in the lead position. To be honest, I wish I saw more Tinkaton. We didn't see a single one, but it kind of is what it is. I think as the season progresses, you will see more. 7 Poison Stings and the Drill Run. The opponent throws the Ice Beam and then pivot out into Altaria. I haven't really got a great answer for Altaria. Once again, I bank a little bit more energy and I send out Diggersby. This isn't a matchup I'll be winning. I'm just throwing it away, essentially sacrificing it to the Pokegods. I could have sent out Sableye here that has neutral play. However, Sableye has neutral play into Azumarill, whereas I don't really like Diggersby into Azumarill. We may as well get some use out of the Big Fat Bunny, and it's going to do a great job of what it always does, just absorbing all this energy. This Fire Punch won't be lethal, but we'll put them in a range where they're going to get Quick Attack farm down unless they dump their energy. The opponent recognises that, do opt to throw. Nice no shield as well, recognising they'd survive. Shadow Beedrill gets yet more energy together, and out comes Wish Daddy Cash. I throw the Drill Run. X-Scissor is the most energy efficient path. However, I was covering for a catch. Speaking of which, I'm going to take the opportunity and make the catch in return onto my Sableye, once again banking yet more energy on Beedrill. I could throw this Foul Play, winning CMP. However, I didn't want the opponent to try and make a catch and sneak a bubble in the process. So instead, we're going to go down both Protect Shield. The opponent has 2. We're going to Shadow Claw, Foul Play. And at this point, the opponent really needs to start shielding, as Foul Play would actually knock him out. The first Foul Play forced the Protect Shield, 1 Shadow Claw and the next Foul Play. As we've got so much energy, the opponent is going to be forced to throw. They do exactly that. Ice Beam will remove me from the field of play. Win con from here is very simple. Let Beedrill do what it does and close the show. We farm up 2 double charge moves. X-Scissor removes the bunny from the field of play. We're doubled up and the next X-Scissor is going to be all she wrote. GG's and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, and I believe this might actually be the final battle of today's video. We see Gligar in the lead position. We are completely walled. Poison Sting is resisted, as are my charge moves. There's no need to panic. If you're going to use a Shadow Glass Cannon like Beedrill, I'm sure if you've made it to this point of the video, you'll recognise that having energy bank is paramount. Worst case scenario, if we get Beedrill aligned with Gligar at some point later, we've got an energy lead and we can potentially deal with it. The opponent continued to stay in. We're going to go for the Fire Punch. Bam, 1 Fire Punch doesn't do too much. The next one also won't be lethal. However, we'll leave them low. The opponent is going to be forced to throw. Even an Aerial Ace will knock me out from this range. However, they're so low that I'm going to commit to a very aggressive Poison Sting farm down. And Beedrill is now absolutely loaded. Out comes Blastoise. Blastoise is very bulky and quite awkward to deal with. We're going to throw the X-Scissor. X-Scissor forced the Protect Shield. We're then going to farm up and make the catch onto Sableye, once again banking all of our energy. We also sneak a Shadow Claw, which means if Blastoise continues to stay in, we would be able to outpace. Unfortunately for me, it's Drapion in the back, so once again, just not having the correct alignment here, but we're able to throw the Dazzling Gleam, winning CMP. The opponent throw the Aqua Tail. There's no real point in shielding that. So what we're going to do is throw Beedrill back into the arena. X-Scissor would be lethal, but I need energy, so we go for an undercharge. The undercharge looks fairly decent. In an ideal world, we would have stung down before the charge move is reached, but it kind of is what it is. We're going to shield up the Aqua Tail. The opponent send back out Blastoise. We're going to need to reach 3 charge moves. Can we do it? Or potentially sting down. So I think there, I should have went Drill Run. Whilst it is less energy efficient, you're going to see, if it would have got off slightly more damage, I think we do actually sting farm down. Miscalculation on my part. Really tough alignment, but you can see there was a wink on there somewhere, unfortunately, unable to execute it, despite, in my opinion, decent energy management throughout. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's Shoutcast. And I think we're ending on a perfect note. Shadow Beedrill is an absolute monster if you're able to manage energy throughout. It just is able to put in so much work, be so annoying, so spammy, and just deal with more or less the entire meta. Whilst both Sableye and Diggersby have had no reworks, no buffs, no nerfs, they've remained exactly the same as they were last season. They are very top meta threats and well worth your investment. Today's team build, and I didn't actually put any thought into whatsoever, it's actually just a fun take on the team I used way back in season 10 and was able to hit legend rank. That team was Beedrill, Sableye, and back then Swampert. Today I did sub Swampert out for Diggersby because this meta has quite a lot of fast move pressure and I just felt a bit more comfortable hiding behind a little bit of bulk. Sorry, not sorry. With all that being said, if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you'd like your battles featured on my channel, a link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.